What is up, everybody? So, some of you OG subscribers, old school viewers, know that my channel was started with, well, a couple stereo videos from some stereos that I had built, some sub boxes and things like that. Well, we are going old school in this video, guys. We are going to design and build a system for my Focus. It's gonna be exciting. And something else that the old school viewers will remember potentially is that I actually held a couple of records for Midwest SPL, doing a Cavalier with an 18-inch sub in the trunk. We're not going to be setting any records with this build, but we're going to make a super sick sound quality type, not true SQ, but sound quality type build for the Focus. And we're going to start with the sub box. Start with the amp install. We're going to be doing a head unit. We will be doing speakers. We're going to do sound deadening. We're going to do a lot of stuff to this car. It's going to be a long process, so there's going to be a lot of videos coming. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that little notification icon, so every time I post one of my videos for the stereo system I'm going to do, you get notified. And then do me a favor and like the video. And it's been a long time since I built a stereo, like a really long time. So there might be some mishaps along the way. I might give you some incorrect information, but bear with me. You're gonna see the entire process, everything from I'm gonna just start taking measurements. I'm gonna take a look at the website for the subwoofers, figure out the TS parameters, use a program, WinISD Pro, to actually design the speaker box, see what it's gonna look like, and then we're gonna start building the box first. I'm gonna do everything from building the box. I'm going to use some arrow ports, so you're gonna see the way I design these and how I make these work for the box. You're gonna see me assemble everything, and you're gonna see me do this install. And then hopefully here, well, for you guys, it'll be in a few minutes, you'll hear a sweet sounding setup. For me, it might be a few days. This here is pretty exciting, guys. This is a lot of room. One thing I am gonna do though, is I'm gonna keep this all below the window line. Just like if I was gonna be doing a competition class build, that was gonna be like a street class, it's all gonna be below the window line, it's not gonna be a wall. So we're gonna use all this space here to build a box for either 2 or 4 8-inch Kicker L7 subs. I think we'll probably go with 4, I got plenty of room here, so I think that's what the plan's gonna be. Like I said, gonna be using Kicker products. The only reason I'm using them, I mean, aside from the fact that I like Kicker, is I've already got the stuff. I've got it in a vehicle right now that I use to pull a camper with. I'm gonna pull all that stuff out and put it in here in a much nicer build. I've used all kinds of stuff in the past, from SoundStream to SoundCube or AudioCube back in the day, Alpine, Rockford Fosgate, all kinds of stuff. So we're gonna do this build with Kicker, as far as the subs are concerned anyway, and the amps, and we'll see what we do with the deck. We might do an Alpine head unit, probably do who knows what for speakers for the doors and stuff, but we'll figure that out as we go. To get started on this, I got a blank piece of paper, got me a pen, pencil works, I've got a tape measure. We're gonna literally measure the space I have right here to build a speaker box. And literally we're just gonna measure left to right. I'm gonna see what do I have for space, and it looks like about 40 inches will be the width that we're using here. So I'm gonna just draw a line across 40 inches. And then I don't wanna go all the way back to the back here, but I do have seats that are at an angle. So I wanna make sure I measure from the top of that angle back to about as far as I wanna go, which is maybe 20 inches. So we got 40 inches, 20 inches deep, and then staying below this little trim piece, we got about 13 inches of height there. So now we've got kind of our outline for what space we have for the subwoofer box. Now we're gonna start doing some math, doing some figuring, and figure out how much volume I have there. Hopefully I'm getting between 4 and 6 cubic feet of volume, because that'll get me right to about where I wanna be. And now we're down here on my computer. We're gonna do a bunch of stuff, so I'm actually gonna switch over to a capture program as I do some of this. So that way it's easier to show you what I'm doing versus trying to use my GoPro camera. You know, at this point, some of you guys might be saying, well, Dredd, why don't you just use your computer and a program like whatever to design your speaker box? I like doing it the old-fashioned way. I like using pen and paper and figuring out all this stuff on paper and crossing stuff out and redoing it. So that's why I do it this way. Might be easier on the computer, but I don't care. So here are my measurements from earlier. You got 40 inches wide, 13 inches tall, and 20 inches deep. If you take the 20 times 13 times 40, divide it out, this actually ends up being just a little bit over 6 cubic feet. My box is going to be a little bit smaller than 6 cubic feet, which is fine because we'll have to figure in the particle board, sub displacement, port displacement, and per Kicker's recommended enclosure volume, you only need 4 cubic feet for 4 subs. So I'm going to end up somewhere between here, but the smaller the box gets, the quieter the box will get. So I want to try to keep it as close to that as possible. So that's what we're going to aim for. It's been a long time since I've done a lot of this stuff, but I mean, I remember these equations like back of my hand because I built so many sub boxes in the past. All right, so now that I know that it's going to be a little bit over 6 cubic feet, this is where the real, I don't know, work begins, I guess you could say. Because now I've got to figure out, with my current dimensions, how much internal volume I'm actually going to have. So I'm going to draw all this out, and I've got to remember each side of this is going to be made with 3/4 inch particle boards, so the internal space is going to be smaller than what my dimensions are. And if I was building like a competition box, I would do multiple layers and things like that, but this isn't going to be anything crazy. Like I said, 125 decibels before cabin gain and all that stuff, so it's not going to be super loud. So we're going to do single layer MDF all the way around. We'll do 3/4 inch. So I'm going to basically take those measurements I had and remove 3/4 of an inch from every one of those measurements to give me my volume before sub displacement and port displacement. And I've got to determine too where I'm going to be mounting the subs and where the ports are going to be. And just looking at the space that I have, I think I'm going to mount the subs to the top of this box, kind of like this. And then I'm going to put my 3 ports on the back firing towards the rear hatch. Because I think this will make it so I can get the port length I need. I get the subs to fit in there just fine. And everything should work out pretty good with that information. So this will really shrink it down. So now we're looking at about 5.13 cubic feet of space. Remember, we started out at 6 cubic feet. That was the exterior dimensions, but now this is the inside of that box, taking out the volume that the MDF, the particle board, is going to take up. So now we're down to 5, and we still got to take out the volume for the subs and the ports. So now we're down to a little bit over 5 cubic feet, and I've got to take out the volume for each sub. And each sub, when I go to Kicker's website, is about 0.24 cubic feet, and I've got 4 subs. So we're at about another cubic foot of volume I'm losing because of the subs. I'll have to look at the car again, but I think what I'm gonna do to make this work is I'm actually going to raise the height of the box 3/4 of an inch. So instead of only having an 11.5 inches of internal volume for height, it'll actually give me 12.25 inches. And that little bit will equate to quite a bit of room. All right, so after a bunch of messing around, drawing out a bunch of things, doing all kinds of stuff, I decided on a 2 subwoofer box. We're gonna fire the subs towards the back of the vehicle with a port kind of in the center towards the bottom of the box, just for ease of building this. We should end up just a tad over 2 cubic feet, so we'll be at the ideal 1 cubic foot per sub, and we'll have the correct port surface area, and we'll be tuned right around 32 hertz, so it should be decently nice sounding. Should hit the lows really good. So we're gonna start cutting, put everything together, and get this box done. So like I said, that's gonna be the box design. And then here are gonna be my cuts for the front and back, top, bottom, and sides of the box right here. So I am gonna go ahead and start drawing that out and making some cuts to get this MDF cut up. All right, because I don't have a table saw to do this, I'm actually using a long straight edge. I'm clamping down, marked where my cut needs to be, so when I rip this across, it'll be a straight line to give me my straight edge for my bottom and my top piece of the sub box here. I've got my boards cut for the speaker box, and then here's the extra material that I'll use for the port. So I'm gonna go ahead and put together the bottom, the back, and the sides of the box, and then start working on the port so I can access everything from the top and the front of the box. And once the port's built in there, it's gonna be kind of a U-shaped port in the box. Then I'll put the front and top on, get the subs mounted, all that fun stuff. Give you kind of an idea of what I'm working with here. That is kind of what the box will look like, the bottom, sides, and the back. There'll still be a top and a front. Like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and do the port. I'm gonna put the port on the bottom. It's gonna run back and kind of along each side here. So I'm going to do that. And then something else I'm also gonna do is I'm gonna use a Craig jig for mounting holes along this so I can mount this together. And I'm gonna go ahead and glue it all and mount it now. Get it done and out of the way. All right, and this here is the Craig Jig Setup. This is what we're gonna use to drill pilot holes all the way around here. So I can mount these together super securely without having to drill, holes through the bottoms or tops and things like that. It'll actually all be screwed together on the inside, which will be really nice looking. Even though I am gonna cover it, I am gonna still use this, and it's just a cool little tool the way this works. And I'm gonna set up this Craig jig. You might be able to see kind of right there. There's those little arrows, and they're pointing to 3/4. So I'm dealing with 3/4 inch MDF. So I've got that set up to the right size. I did something similar with this thing where we set it up. You have to use the case over here to set that up. You can see the markings there. You just put that in there and adjust this collar. I did that already to 3/4 of an inch. So these are both set up and ready to go. And the way this works is we put the little Craig jig on the board, we clamp it on with that clamp right there, and now we're gonna take this drill and drill bit, and we're just gonna start drilling pilot holes through here. And when we get to the stopping point, that collar right there will stop us from drilling any further. And then we're gonna space these out every 6 inches or so. So we'll probably put 4 or so along the bottom. The back will have like 6 or so, and we'll do that around the tops and bottoms. So when we connect the sides, tops, and back, it'll all be mounted that way. And now you can see along the bottom, I've got those holes drilled, and we could go ahead and start screwing this together. Like I said, I'm gonna do all these holes along the tops and bottoms of these panels really quick, and then I'm going to go ahead and lay down some subfloor adhesive, and I'm going to go ahead and run the screws through the sides on the bottom, the back bottom, and get that all connected, and we'll start building the port from there. And we could also do the same thing, which we will on the back here on the corner. You'll see that. So this panel, the side panels, because they're on the inside, will have those along the bottom, back, and top, because they sit inside of all the other panels, and that's how they'll connect. Now you can see I've got all of those pocket holes drilled, and that's how I'm going to attach all of these current panels. I'll attach them there, along the bottom, there, and along the bottom. Like I said, I'm gonna grab some subfloor adhesive. I'm gonna put it in all the joints, and then I'm gonna screw this together so this part of the box will be completely assembled. So now the back panel is attached. You can see the screws down inside the hole there. And these do have like a square head, so this kit comes with this drill bit that you use to screw them into place. And then because I used that subfloor adhesive, it squeezed out, and we just smoothed it out along there to give us a super nice seal. And now we'll attach the sides. Here's the assembled side, back, and bottoms. Like I said, all glued together, screwed together. It's not going anywhere. So now I can start working on the port, which goes about right here in the center between each speaker. So I'm gonna start on that because it's gonna go along this bottom, like I said, then kind of come out and around on each side there. So that's what we're working on next. All right, and now what I've done is I've kind of mapped out the line that the ports will follow. So that way when I actually do the measurements, figure out where they're gonna be, I know where they've gotta go. And we'll put some angle pieces in here so that way it's a smooth transition around corners and things like that. But I think this is like 19 inches here, and then each side here is about 12 inches. So really I probably don't need to come up these sides at all when I'm thinking about it, because I just need this to be a total of 40 inches long. And I think that we should be good with where we're at on the back and up the middle. And this is the first speaker box I've actually built in about 10 years. So don't judge me for the looks. Or if it sounds terrible. Just remember, it's my first time in 10 years doing this, but so far it's coming out pretty good. I'm pretty excited about it. So now we've got our port laid out. We've got to just assemble that, and then we're gonna take that off, lay it on that piece. We're gonna trace it and cut out the top, and then we'll just cut out these corner pieces. I've got to put a little corner in back here still to make a smooth transition for the airflow through there. And then this port is about finished up, and then we can do the top and the front, get the sub cut out done, and carpet this box. A little tip, paint the inside of the port black, so that way when it's all sealed up, the box looks good. You don't see just a bunch of brown wood in there. It's nice and black, and it looks super professional, even though it's just an amateur built box. And I did kind of mess up something. It's an easy fix though, but when I was cutting this down, I cut the top part too short, so I'll just use the piece I've got down there is 3/4 of an inch to go there and fill it in. But now you can kind of see what the port's gonna look like. Chamber, chamber, port, going through, and then coming out right there. So we'll get this all nailed down, glued in, pretty it up a little bit, and get ready to put the rest of the box together. So now I've got the port done and assembled. We went ahead and applied some paint just to make it look a little bit better on the inside when that front's on to look better. And now we're gonna get ready to go ahead and put the front on. I've got to mark out the port opening, and then I've got to mark the sub openings. And we'll cut those out, we'll screw that together, get ready to put the top on, get ready to mount the subs, put the wiring in, and then we're done with our box. And we're gonna install this wire plug thing. So I've got the hole saw kit out, and with the way this is gonna be in my car, I'm gonna mount this connector over here because that's gonna be the side my amplifier will be on. So we're gonna use the hole saw kit really quick, drill a hole, mount that, so that way we can wire these subs up. There's that hole after using the hole saw, and then this guy here will end up popping in there after I get it carpeted, screwed into place, and then the wire terminals come through on the back side, and you wire that up to the subwoofer. Definitely a worthwhile investment. If you buy new speakers, they'll come with a template. I had to do some measuring to figure out where my outline's gonna be to cut out my sub. I got my box mounted, I got a hole pre-drilled, and that's where I'm gonna start my cut with the jig saw by putting the blade right there, and then I'll cut out that square for my Kicker sub, and then I'll do the same thing over there. And there's sub number 1 mounted. Just gotta do that other hole like I said there. And then we're about ready to put carpet on after we put the top on. There the front baffle is all complete. Just getting ready to mount the final piece, the top, and then we'll be ready to carpet this thing, wire it up, and install the subs. Now there's probably a right way to do carpet, and I don't know what it is, so this is just the way I'm gonna do it. I've got a big chunk of carpet, I've got it laid, so the carpet's out, the backer side is down, and I am going to basically roll this box on the carpet. I'm gonna carpet the back of it first, so I've got myself some room here. I'm gonna spray that, roll it backwards, let it sit, and then I'm gonna start rolling it that way until it's completely covered, and then my seam will be right here. And then we'll just cut it there, and then the sides, I honestly have no good way of doing it. I could probably Google the right way to do it, but I'm gonna do it the wrong way, the way that works. I'm gonna cheat a little bit. It's not a professional install, it's just something I want to look good, and I can make it look good without having to get all kinds of crazy with cuts and stuff like that. We're gonna get started, and I'll show you what I will do on those sides to make it work in a way that's super simple. And whatever you use for adhesive, just read the instructions on how to make sure it bonds the right way. For this stuff, you spray it on here, you spray it on here, you let it sit for like a minute or so, and then put them together, and then that is basically all you do. And then it takes like, I don't know, maybe an hour or something to cure. It's not very long. Like, we'll roll this up and be done, and it won't come off. So just whatever you go with, 3M, Loctite, whatever, just read the instructions on how to use it. And I've got that layer on there, one layer on there, one layer on here. It doesn't take a lot. You let it sit for about a minute, and then you just put the carpet on there. I'm gonna roll the box backwards to sit on top of there, and then that will give me a pretty solid bond. I'm not worried if I miss anything along the top edge, because when we get to that part after we cover it all, we can still fix that. It's not a big deal. So I'm gonna go ahead and just roll this backwards, just like that. And now that back of the box has that carpet sealed, and we're gonna go around to the other side and do the same thing. But we're gonna spray this side now and the carpet, and then we're gonna roll it this way, and then we'll do the front, we'll roll it, and then the final piece and roll it, and that's how we're gonna attach it. And like I said, glue on both surfaces, and we're gonna go ahead and roll, and we're gonna pull it tight, so when we roll, it sits right on there. And now you can see that back pulled up. Again, not worried if it doesn't stick fully on there, because we're gonna fix this back still when we get done with the rest of it. So there's that piece. And this is where I'm gonna do my little cheat. I'm gonna cut along the back here. I'm gonna cut straight down and then cut this piece off. And what I'm gonna do on the sides is I'm just gonna fold up this ledge. I'm gonna cut this straight off, that straight off, and I'm gonna do one fold to cover the side. There's probably a right way to do it. That's not it, but it works. It's gonna look good. It's gonna look professional, especially using black, because we can use spray paint on the seams and you'll never be able to tell. So now I've cut off those two sides of carpet that were sticking up on the back. Left myself a little bit of a hangover just on the ledge there. But now I'll be able to cut straight across here and I'll just flap this side up and that'll give me my side cover for both sides. Done, simple, way easier than I've seen other people do. So now I've sprayed it down with the adhesive. Gonna let it get tacky here for about 60 seconds or so. I'm gonna flap it up. We'll trim that back corner and you guys will see it's gonna look really, really good. So I'm getting ready to put the carpet on the front and you can kind of see now. I've got the sides, the back, all done. And they're held up with the glue and everything already. I've been trimming up the corners as I kind of go here. Not quite perfect yet, but good enough for what we're doing. So now I'm gonna get ready to pull that forward, and then we've just got the top to do, and then finish trimming it, and our box is carpeted, and then we're ready just to wire it up. And the final roll. Now I just gotta trim down those pieces there on the sides and cut out everything all around. And we've got a carpeted speaker box. And here's kind of where a little trick comes in. Get yourself some black spray paint, and any seams where you can see any of that glue or if there's any wood sticking out, just kind of blast them with that black paint. Clears it right up. If you mess up your carpet, like where that thing is, again, just use some of that black spray paint to give it that finished look that'll make it look like a professional speaker box. And then now we'll get ready to run the wires through here, get it all wired up, get those speakers mounted, and then we'll be on to the next stage, which is installing the amplifier for it. The subs we're using are these Kicker SOlobaric L7s. They're dual 4-ohm subs. So coil 1, positive, negative, coil 2, positive, negative. I measured them just to make sure. They measured about 5 ohms. So we're gonna wire them down to 2 ohms per sub. So I'm gonna run them in parallel. So positive to positive, negative to negative to give me a 2 ohm load on each sub. And then we're gonna run those in parallel together. So a negative to a negative, positive to a positive to give me a 1 ohm load on my amplifier. So that's what we are going for here. And this will be the first part of a multi-part series where I'm doing a complete stereo install on my Focus behind me there. Be sure to subscribe, hit that little notification icon, and like my video. Make sure you come back and watch as I do the amplifier install and as I would do the head unit install. I'm going to be putting in a nice double DIN head unit, nice aftermarket, maybe Alpine. Haven't really decided on the brand yet, but I'll show you how I do all of that as well. So like I said, subscribe below. Give myself plenty of extra speaker wire to play with here. I don't want to keep it too short, so that way if I pull the subs back out to, I don't know, rewire them or do whatever, I've got plenty of room. So I'm going to make sure I've got enough room to connect this, spin it around, pop it in, all that fun stuff. All right, and speaker box done in the car. So next step, we are going to be installing the amp and running the wires for it. So that'll be the next video. And then we've got to install a head unit. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. That way you get notified when I do the next step of the install. And until next time.